Welcome back to Fox News Live. We're going to talk about the business of doing good and to explain how a company can change an industry and also help millions of people at the same time. Dr. James Bernstein. Bernstein or Bernstein?
Bernstein.
Bernstein. My real name is Shapiro, but I say Shapiro, so I totally get it. Tell me about Eniware. You're the CEO of Eniware, and what is it you're doing, and what is this business of doing good?
Fine. Well, the two link very closely together. So the first thing I'd like to say is that Eniware is a small business.
Mm-hmm.
We are thinking big. We're doing big things. So our market is people all over the world who do not have any electricity.
Okay.
That's about 3.5 billion people.
On a planet of 7 billion.
On a planet at 7, which is going probably to 11 by 2050. Mm-hmm. So there are 3.5 billion people that, unlike you and me here in New York City, mm-hmm. have no electricity. So when they go to get medical care and they need a simple surgical procedure, mm-hmm. the instruments are not sterile. Mm-hmm. So they get massive complications. They get death, they get disability. It's a big problem. So with a rather small investment and with a lot of commitment and networking, we can come up with a product which is very inexpensive, which will solve that problem.
And you've done that, apparently.
We're in the process of doing that.
How would this work? I mean, I'm thinking when you said, surgical situations prior to sterilization, I'm thinking the Civil War, when so many of the wounded in the Civil War would not only have lost limbs, but because of infection, died because of infection, because they weren't sterilizing instruments. How do you do that if you can't use electricity? I mean, I imagine you'd have to boil water and do it that way.
You know, the Civil War and the earthquake in Haiti were very similar, mm-hmm. because when you went down to Haiti as a surgeon, you could do nothing because you had no electricity. Therefore, you couldn't sterilize the instruments that you had. Mm-hmm. So a good friend of mine as a surgeon was using rum to mm-hmm. sterilize, very much like the Civil War, alcohol.
Right.
But that doesn't sterilize. It only
will kill some of the things you don't want on there.
But you need to think of yourself as being a big culture medium. You're warm, you're moist.
Right.
So 1 or 2 bacteria get into you when they grow, and then you get an infection.
Mm-hmm. So what is it you guys are developing? I mean, forgive me because I am certainly not a doctor, but I would have thought, okay, so in those kinds of situations, the best way to sterilize is you build a fire and you boil the instrument for a while.
So boiling doesn't sterilize either.
Okay.
And there are many parts of the world where firewood is not readily available. People in the Hindu Kush of Pakistan spend 5 hours a day getting enough wood to boil their soup for dinner.
Okay. So
the notion that you can actually solve problems by building a fire doesn't work. But sterilization is an interesting area. There's been very little innovation mm-hmm. in sterilization. And one of the things that social entrepreneurs do, mm-hmm. which big companies don't do, is they innovate.
All right.
And we're kind of like the canary on the end of the stick.
Anywhere is the canary. Okay.
We're kind of like the canary on the end of the stick that used to go into the coal mine, mm-hmm. and if it was all right,
the canary lived, and if it wasn't all right,
died. So there are many social entrepreneurs who try and solve these big global problems, mm-hmm. and many of them die because they're undercapitalized or it doesn't work. But the ones that survive are eaten by the big companies.
So it sounds to me like you're not doing crowdfunding, but you're doing crowd solution. You're bringing in different...
Well, that's interesting, because social impact investing, since it doesn't have big capital mm-hmm. behind it, has to be collaborative. So the term that we use at Eniware is we are engaged in collaborative capitalism. Mm-hmm. It's very different than the sort of aggressive...
Well, with crowdfunding, everybody's dumping a little money. Lots of people dumping a little money in, hoping to get a big return. Are you raising money at Eniware right now for the development of these?
We're raising money to do this, yes.
How much have you raised so far? Are you allowed to say?
We don't talk about that on air, but we're raising several $1 million. But the important point mm-hmm. is that just for a small number of millions of dollars, mm-hmm. we can create a company that takes care of billions of people.
What is it? I'm trying to envision what kind of product you're working on for sterilization if it's not building a fire.
Think of your briefcase.
Yes.
A little container, maybe like this.
Yeah.
You put your surgical instruments into it. Mm-hmm. You have a little gas charge. It's maybe that big. Mm-hmm. You release the gas into the container. You wait appropriate period of time, mm-hmm. you open it up, and you're ready to go.
So, conceivably in a war zone that might not have electricity, or, for instance, like a place like Syria, what's going on there, back in Haiti after a disaster, you'd wash the instrument in just regular water and then put it into this container.
That's correct. But what I would like to point out to you is, besides disaster zones and militaries, mm-hmm. there are 3.5 billion people who live in the emerging markets of the world, right. who don't have access to New York City level health care.
Well, we've had situations in our own city where we didn't have electricity. I mean, it would sound to me as if the implications for the developing world could still be used in the developed world.
And a point that I'd like to make, because you're here today talking about the business of doing good. So it used to be when you invested in a company, you invested because the company was going to be profitable. And you got a return on your investment based upon the profit of the company, sort of the Wall Street model.
Right.
Social impact investing says that there are other things besides profit that create value in a company. And they're the 3 Ps of social investing.
And that would be?
Profit,
right.
People, your community, are you doing something that makes people better? And then P, the planet, are you doing something to make the environment better?
As we wrap up, Eniware, is it a not-for-profit? It is a
No, we are a for-profit company.
Okay.
We're a small business, we're innovative, and we're creating big solutions to big problems with small amount of capital.
All right, Eniware, do you have a website where people can learn
Yes.
more about you? Why don't we talk about that? It's eniware.com?
It's Eniware Sterile,
okay.
one word.com.
And it's spelled with an E, E-N-I.
E-N-I-W-A-R-E, which means you can use our portable sterilization anywhere, anytime.
Why E-N-I? Was A-N-Y not available?
No, it was a branding thing.
Okay.
Okay, and anywhere is anywhere.
Okay. Anything you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I think that you probably have a pretty interesting program, and I compliment you on doing good work.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. James Bernstein. You have success with this, because I know a lot of people, at least $3 billion, are counting on you to come through with this product. So all the best to you.
Thanks very much.
Take care.